what's brilliant about this film, I think, for me, is that it just encapsulates everything about growing up. And it occurred to me tonight when I was watching it that this came out the same year that Baggy Trousers came out. And there were all these things that were speaking to me about, going to other schools and trying to give them a kick in and getting a kick in, all that girl thing, the football thing. I mean, I really do think that Rab said in his intro about quotable lines. How I met Rab was through the 30th anniversary screening in Glasgow, and I had a poster, a grubby little poster that I'd hung on to for ages, and I met John Gordon Sinclair, and I said, look, and it was a big dream of mine that I wanted him to write on it, Arrivederci Gordon, hurry back. And he didn't have a clue what I was talking about. And I expected him just to go, oh yeah, no bother, and sign it, because that's for me one of the key lines that he has in that film. But obviously life moved on for him, and it must have stalled somewhere for me in the last 30 years. But it's an incredibly quotable film. I don't think I would have a Scottish girlfriend called Claire had it have not been for this film, to be perfectly honest. I think this has, I wouldn't live in this country, I wouldn't, Claire, it's all coming out tonight, isn't it? And also what I want to say just before I show a clip and then we have a chat with Rab, is that I really do think that Sinking Feeling and Gregory's Girl has one of the best comic performances by an actor in Rab. I think he steals every line in it. The performance is absolutely brilliant. That Sinking Feeling is just fantastic. So if you get a chance to see it, don't buy it on DVD for reasons that we may talk about later, but do try and see it. I think Rab is one of the best comic actors, particularly from that period, which, 30 years ago, absolutely brilliant. But I've hugged it enough. I wanted to show you this clip because it's not just me who likes it, because I thought it was for years. I just thought I was some mad obsessive. So, hit me with the lights, camera. I'm just going to show you this little clip, just to give it some context from the early 80s. So the one thing that we're not allowed to talk about is the penguin. Okay, there's no penguin questions allowed, but please welcome, I think, one of the best actors of his generation, Rab Buchanan. So what everybody wants to know first of all is, what was the dream you were having 4 nights on a row?
I haven't got a clue, I was just reading the words.
Which is interesting because, I'll tell you what, we'll do this first. I want to take you back, because I don't think you will have seen this. We'll talk about the script in a minute and kind of how much of it was scripted and how much was natural. But just to take Rab back to that early 80s Cumbernauld, I'm going to show you this clip as well. I think.
There's a place that's so easy to reach by road, air and rail, over 500 companies have made it their home. What's it called?
There's a place where so many people are settling. 1,000 new homes will be built by 1990.
What's it called? There's a place where the future is so bright, over 40 new companies moved in there last year. What's it called?
There's a place where people can enjoy golf, windsurfing, snooker, swimming, winter sports, squash.
What's it called? Cumbernauld, a new generation.
So why shoot it in Cumbernauld? Because with hindsight, it seems, cheers Cameron, it seems a really obvious place because it's a new town, therefore everything's new, the relationships are new, the decade's new, the music's new. Is that how it felt, or was it just a convenient place?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with history of Scottish film. Everything, any films that were made in Scotland before that were called violent or gritty. Like the Peter McDougall stuff, A Sense of Freedom, all that sort of stuff. Really, there wasn't anything else apart from that being done, certainly in the 70s. So I think that was a deliberate step to get away from that. Yeah. Cumbernauld being a new town, I guess was the ideal place to do it. I think it was as simple as that, really.
So how did you end up from, tell us a bit about the background, how You got involved in acting, how you got involved in film, where Bill Forsyth comes into it.
Yeah, well, I was in the Glasgow Youth Theatre, who used to meet on a Friday night in the East End of Glasgow. So we used to meet every Friday night, and we would work towards a tour every summer, and that would be writing and rehearsing, making props, building the set, anything that needed to be done. We would do that, and that happened on a Friday night. And one night, this guy turned up who was introduced to us as Bill Forsyth. You know, he's a filmmaker and he wants to make a film with you. And we sort of went, aye, right, very good. But he kept coming along. We got to know him. We became good pals. So he came along every Friday, and he came on tour with us one year. And after the tour, he said that he had been writing a script for a film called Gregory's Girl. Would we be interested in doing it? And we sort of, we were still a bit sceptical. We knew Bill pretty well by this time, but we weren't sure about the filming. But he came up with ideas. We gave him some ideas. We did some improvisations for him. We wrote some wee sketches, like the part at the when Gordon's waiting for Dorothy at the clock. That was Sani, who was the window cleaner. He wrote that for a show that the youth theatre did, and it was called First Date. And there was lots of wee bits and pieces, but that scene in its entirety was written by Sani.
Right.
So he was very open to suggestions. He had the BFI had arranged to come up to meet us to see some of the sketches that we had written and some of the improvisations. We'd already prepared stuff on video for them to watch. So they came up and we met them. We did some improvisations. We did some sketches for them. We showed them the video. We got on really well with them. They really loved the idea, but didn't give us any money. Apparently, then they worked on a list. You know, the movies that they had applied to BFI for money was on a list, and I think depending on if you had any personalities or famous actors, then that would get the money before the other movies did, and so we were quite far down the list. But after that, I think Bill was a bit disappointed, so he said to us, "Look, do you still want to make a film? I've got the contacts. Let's do a film." And that's where that sinking feeling came from. A similar idea. We gave him ideas. We did some improvisations. We wrote some skits, and he went away and came up with the script, which just knocked us out. You know, we really loved it. And it was through that sinking feeling that he got the money to do Gregory's Girl. And I'm not sure how much the budget for Gregory's Girl was. I think it was maybe something like 250 grand or something like that. Sinking feeling was 3 grand. And that was mostly on the production costs.
Yeah. So that sinking feeling is well received. Did you know what role you were going to play in Gregory's Girl? Did you know how it was going to pan out? Because Dee was already acting, Dee Hepburn by that stage. Yeah,
I think so.
The famous story about Claire Grogan in the restaurant.
That's right, yeah. She used to work in a restaurant in Glasgow called the Spaghetti Factory that Bill used to go in a lot. And he was in one night and he asked her if she wanted to be in a film, which, if you knew Bill at that time, it was a bit pervy looking at that point, you know. So I think she did think initially.
I used the same line on Claire when I.
There you go. So, well, he got before he found Dee Hepburn, he did a thing where he was getting in touch with the girls' schools in Glasgow, and he was going around the girls' schools in Glasgow, interviewing and auditioning girls. You can edit that bit.
Yeah. It's interesting. So that whole script thing that you mentioned. So it was. So you had an idea who the character. Did you see them as characters? Did you see them as extensions of yourself?
Yeah, we had all the parts were written for us because Bill knew he knew us really well, He knew what we were like. He knew our characters.
Yeah.
So he had written these parts specifically for us, which is a great thing. You know, I don't suppose even after millions of films have been made that there's that many folk that can say that they had a part especially written for them. You know, and that's what it was like with mine, with Gordon's, with Sani, who was a window cleaner, Steve the cook, the photographer. All the youth theatre guys had these parts written for them, which was a great thing to have done for you.
Yeah. I'm just going to show you this clip again. I think Gregory's Girl is one of those films. It's not on TV that often, to be honest, which always
Not
surprises
nowadays,
me.
no.
But I think it's one of those films you can just rewatch it. It's one of those films, no matter where you watch it, you know, if you put it on, you will watch it to the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show 3 clips and get Rab to talk us through them after they've been on. So if you could hit me the lights again, Cameron. And the first one, I adore this clip because it has comedy and pathos in the same kind of breath. So we'll watch it, Rab, and then if you can talk us through it.
Okay, so Phil Menzies is daft. He's daft enough maybe to throw you out the team. I'm not saying that he will fling you out. No, I didn't say that. But he's daft enough to do it. Look, I'll tell you what. If, just supposing, Phil Menzies is daft enough to throw you out the team, well, I'll resign.
Really?
Yeah, well, when I say resign, what I'm getting at, what it boils down to, what I'm trying to say really is, I'll resign myself to making a decision, if it happens. I'm not saying that it will, it might, but it won't. I don't think so.
Well, I'll see you later, Gregory, okay?
Where are you going?
Well, I just want to stay here a wee bit longer and watch the traffic. I like looking at the big trucks. Do you know that at least 12 tons of cornflakes passes under here every day?
Really?
It's a well-known fact.
Oh, gee, is it? I never knew that.
I'll see you later.
Yeah, see.
Hit me the lights, Cameron. Thank you. There was. It's interesting watching that clip, I think, because there was a big thing in the summer about Toy Story 3 and how it was okay for blokes to cry at films. But I've been doing it at that scene for like 30 years. That watching the trucks go by every time just gets me there. So, tell us about this scene. Tell us about how it happened. Tell us about the shoot itself.
Well, basically, it was a reference to that sinking feeling. Essentially, that's what it was all about. There's nothing else going on in the scene. All it is a reference back to that sinking feeling where all I did was eat cornflakes and got really upset if nobody had any cereal. That's all there is to that scene. There's nothing else to it.
Right. Because I always watched it and thought, because you all want to watch that sinking feeling now, I hope. But there is that scene in that sinking feeling where you look devastated when there's none left. And I think that level of humour that you're able to bring to your characters, I think is particularly what stands out in Gregory's Girl and this next one.
Well, it's funny because referencing that scene again, last summer I was asked to do a small cameo part in a film in Glasgow called Fast Romance that's going to be out in the next couple of months, but I've only got 4 lines, so don't worry about it. I think it's going to be a really good film. It's being previewed over the next couple of weeks, or a fortnight from tonight in fact. Right. But they asked me to do a cameo, and I thought, aye, what's a cameo? And it struck me, well, that's what you do when you're getting on and nobody really remembers you, you know. But that wasn't the case at all.